Heroes come in all different shapes and sizes. Now, it's impossible to define the unique attributes that go together in order to create a person of this caliber. However, it's largely agreed that in order to perform an heroic act, you're going to need an awful lot of one particular quality: bravery. During times of war and conflict, the heroic acts of selfless individuals increases. Life and death situations become far more commonplace. Men and women having to make split-second decisions that will shape not only their futures, but the futures of the country and the citizens that they are fighting for. Today I'm here at the RAF Museum in Hendon to share with you the astonishing story of an heroic RAF Battle of Britain fighter pilot that put his life on the line for Queen and country by thwarting an attack on Buckingham Palace. And he did it all in that amazing machine behind me, the Hawker Hurricane. The pilot in question was named Ray Holmes, born on the 20th of August 1914 in Wallasey, Cheshire. He became famous for his downing of a German Dornier 17 bomber near Buckingham Palace, which became one of the most celebrated events during World War II's Battle of Britain. Now, you may think that the downing of an enemy aircraft during wartime conflict wouldn't warrant too much attention. However, it was the manner and circumstance of this successful strike that would elevate Ray Holmes to hero-like status. Sergeant Ray Holmes was a highly experienced pilot by the time of the Battle of Britain. He had joined the Royal Air Force Volunteer Reserve soon after its formation in 1936. Indeed, he was only the 55th man to join. Ray was stationed at RAF Hendon, North London, where he proved to be an extremely competent flyer of the Hawker Hurricane. On September the 15th, 1940, he took off from the North London Air Base with the intent of intercepting the Germans' midday raid on the city. That day was also considered the climax of the Battle of Britain. At 10 minutes past 12, his Hurricane intercepted a formation of 3 Dornier 17 bombers at 17,000 feet over southeast London. The Dornier crews were flying slowly, but with great discipline and determination, on their mission to bomb the railway viaducts of Battersea. He attacked the bomber on the left side, pressing the gun button at a range of 400 yards. After peppering the aircraft with a substantial amount of bullets, he noticed both of the bomber's engines had stopped, and it began gliding downwards. 1 down, 2 to go. He then opened fire on the second Dornier, which he quickly disabled with a volley of pinpoint accurate shots. The German pilot soon realized his aircraft was unflyable and bailed out, but not before he had entangled his parachute on one of the Hurricane's wings, forcing Ray to make a series of hard left and right turns until he slid off. 2 down, 1 to go. Holmes could see that the bomber was heading straight for Buckingham Palace. But what he didn't know was that the Dornier had already been intercepted by Squadron 310, a Czech squadron. The surviving crew of the bomber had already bailed out, but he was still determined to shoot it down. Oblivious to the fact that the bomber was merely ghosting through the skies of London, Holmes engaged the fire button on the control lever of the Hawker Hurricane. However, disaster. He was out of ammo. What he decided to do next defies comprehension. Now, this is in his own words. His aircraft looked so flimsy. It didn't look solid or substantial at all. So I just thought I'd hit it for 6. Yep, you heard that right. Sergeant Ray Holmes had decided he would ram the bomber out of the skies using his own aircraft. How brave must one individual be to make a decision like that, knowing full well he would damage his own aircraft in the process, rendering it unflyable. The wing of the Hurricane cut through the Dornier's slender fuselage, neatly severing the tail section. The aircraft immediately broke up and plunged to earth, the forward fuselage landing in the forecourt of Victoria Station, and the tail section coming to rest on a rooftop in Vauxhall Bridge Road. Ray's own plane was sent into a fatal tailspin by the impact, and he was forced to bail out, colliding with the roof of the aircraft as he ejected. He managed to deploy the parachute, but found that he was right over the railway tracks of Victoria. He thought to himself, "Hell, I'm going to get electrocuted after all of this." After a few adjustments of the guy ropes, he veered himself away from the tracks, hit a roof in Hugh Street, slid down and off the edge, and landed in a dustbin. Two young women passing by noticed Holmes climbing out of the dustbin. They realised his heroic act and offered him kisses. Before long, he was surrounded by over 50 people giving him chocolate and cigarettes, praising him for his heroic deed. Holmes then requested that he be taken to the crash site of the Hawker Hurricane. It was just around the corner from Hugh Street, so let's go and take a look. Holmes was led just around the corner to the junction of Buckingham Palace, Pimlico Road, Ebury Bridge Road and Ebury Bridge. Now the hurricane impacted just over there where the two drains are in the middle of the junction at a velocity of 400 miles an hour, leaving a huge crater in its wake. The two drains mark the exact spot where the hurricane went down. And how do we know that? Because in 2004, the remains of the hurricane were excavated. This picture shows Ray Holmes once again reunited with the hurricane's control column or joystick, which he last held 64 years ago. Appropriately, the brass fire and safe ring that surrounds the gun button was still set to fire. It was very lucky indeed to find this particularly valued component, as only a small amount of the cockpit material was recovered. After Sergeant Ray Holmes had inspected the crash site, he was bundled into a black taxi and driven off to RAF Hendon for a debriefing. I've made my way around to the front, the forecourt of Victoria Station, and what's amazing is that here on the masonry, on the face of the building, you can still see the damage that the Dornier fuselage made when it crashed into the building. I've made my way up Constitution Hill, which is on the north side of Buckingham Palace, and behind me is the RAF Bomber Command Memorial, which was unveiled in 2012. It's a truly magnificent memorial celebrating the courage and bravery of those airmen in the Second World War. For me, it's fitting that this wonderful memorial stands here overlooking Buckingham Palace. The 5 airmen, one of them could quite easily be Ray Holmes, looking over towards the palace, keeping an eye on it, keeping it safe. Thanks for watching Secret London with me, Mark Munro. If you enjoyed today's episode, hit that thumbs up button. And if you really enjoyed it, why not subscribe? Until next time, stay tuned.